Welcome back to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great night so far. The Detroit Pistons defeated the Chicago Bulls tonight. 85-77 was the final score. That is back-to-back victories for your Pistons in the Summer League. They are playing some really great defensive basketball in Las Vegas, and I love to see it, you guys. I really do. We do have some talking points we are going to get into from the first all the way up to the fourth quarter. Some positives, some negatives, some talk on Twitter already about the fifth overall pick, Ron Holland, and our MVP of the night. So let's get into the talk about Ron Holland on Twitter. And you may be asking yourself, why are we talking about this? Well, if you guys watched the game tonight in the first quarter, the Pistons came out a little bit sluggish. Defensively, there was no presence at the rim. Bulls hung over 30 points and shot 65% from the field in the first quarter, right? And the talk on Twitter about Ron Holland was in a negative light from Pistons fans because they were watching Matas Pizelis, who a lot of Pistons fans wanted in the pre-draft evaluations. A lot of Pistons fans wanted the Pistons to draft Matas. He was having a very good game in the first. Defensively, he was making steals. He was playing the passing lanes. He was being a nuisance out there. Offensively, he was getting into the painted area at will. Hit some dunks, had some floaters. He looked great. I will say that Matas looked really good. In the talk negatively about Ron Holland was, well, the Pistons probably should have drafted Matas Pizelis over Ron Holland because Matas came out the gate really strong and he looked like he was just going to have a monster game tonight, which he still had a good game, by the way. But that's the talk on Twitter that I saw from Pistons fans, which I think some Pistons fans, including myself, we could be reactionary at times, a little bit emotional. We get that, but it's a little bit early to say, oh, we should have drafted this guy over this guy when it's only 3 games into the summer league. That's just something I saw on Twitter. I was like, wow, really? We're doing this now? Huh. Okay, let's get into it. But just wanted to talk about that real quick. One of the talking points that I also wanted to get into was Ron Holland and his first quarter. Hit a three-pointer, looked really good. The form looked good. I believe he shot 1 out of 4 from 3, which, hey, it's progress. We know that his jump shot still needs some work, and that's why the Pistons did hire Fred Vincent. He is going to be working with a lot of Detroit Pistons players on their jump shot, but he did make 1 3, and it looked really good. He did have some plays. He did some backdoor cut stuff in the first and the second quarter, which I liked. I thought he looked solid out there. If you do look at the box score, obviously he had a rough night shooting the ball again, which I'm not one of those guys that's a box score watcher saying, oh, he shot 7 out of 20, only shot 30%. He had a bad game. Like, I'm not one of those guys. But what I saw from Ron tonight, outside of the first quarter, in the second, third, and fourth, he was just making winning basketball plays. His compete level was really high, and that's something that I did notice tonight against the Chicago Bulls. And I do want to transition into the second quarter. Now, one of the talking points that I wrote down was the turnovers again for the Pistons. I know this is summer league. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's really hard to win basketball games when you turn the ball over as much as the Pistons have done the past 2 summer league games. And I think the only reason why they've won these past 2 games is because of their defense. Their defense has been excellent these past 2 games against the Houston Rockets and the Chicago Bulls. The defense really stepped up in the second quarter. That is something that I think a lot of us can be proud of. These guys have not had a lot of practices together. They're not really familiar with each other, but they're still competing and they're still playing some really good defense. I mean, holding the Bulls to 77 points, and I believe the Rockets only had 73. The defense looks really good in the summer league so far. Marcus Sasser, let's get into this. So, Pistons are trying to play him as point guard, which, here's the thing. You go to summer league to work on stuff and also experiment. there's been like a lot of like discourse of why are the Pistons using Marcus Sasser as a point guard? He's more of a two guard. Like, what are the Pistons doing? He definitely had a better game in his third game of the summer league, but what I saw from him tonight was screw it. I'm looking for my shot. I'm a bucket and I'm going to go get some. And that's what he did. He really took over in the second quarter. And he was a big reason why they got back into the game in the second quarter, in my opinion. His scoring, he was starting to feel it, getting into the lane for layups, shooting threes, shooting really tough mid-range jump shots. That's what we know about Marcus Sasser from last season. He's just going to shoot some shots and they go in, and when they go in, we get back to the games, and we get excited watching him. But I thought he had a very much improved game from last game against the Rockets, and even the first game against Philly, where I think he only had 1 point. He looked much better tonight, looked much more comfortable of just shooting the basketball and scoring the basketball. But did want to give him a little shout out of, to score the basketball, man. We know you can score it. One player that we may have talked about, I want to say in the Philly reaction, was Tolu Smith. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time, but his energy in the third quarter, right? He was crashing the glass, which that's something I've noticed about him is he's been crashing the glass a lot for the Pistons. He's seems like he's just in really good position to try and grab rebounds and fight for rebounds. And defensively, I thought in the second and third quarter, it was much better than the first quarter, which was non-existent. He stepped it up. And he was also talking some trash to Matas Bazelis. Matas didn't really like it. I think he had maybe contested one of his shots or blocked his shots, if I do remember correctly. And maybe he got in Matas's head a little bit because Matas really wasn't, doing anything in the second, or I should say in the third quarter, rather, because Tolu Smith was meeting him at the rim and he was taking really tough, layups and contested jump shots. So shout out to Tolu Smith tonight for just, bringing that energy in the second half of the game. Now, before I do get into the fourth quarter and give you guys my MVP and some positives of this game and negatives of this game, we do have to hear from our sponsors at the Game Time Ticket app.
You guys, I have to tell you about today's sponsor, the Game Time Ticket app. How exciting would it be to attend a Major League Baseball game this summer? Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. One of my favorite features within this app is the views from your seats feature. This allows you and shows you how close you're getting to the action before you buy your ticket to the event you're trying to go to. If you guys go over, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
And we are back. We want to thank the Game Time Ticket app for sponsoring today's podcast. Now, getting into the fourth quarter, something that I really noticed, because when the third quarter ended, I believe it was 64-62 Chicago. I was thinking about the Rockets. And the Pistons, when they came out of the third quarter, entering the fourth, they went on a 20-2 run. Okay. That defense just really turned it up. They talked to Ron Holland. I believe it was the end of the third quarter, and they asked them, they're like, hey, like, what do you guys have to do to just, get this victory? And he said, we got to step it up on the defensive end. We really got to turn it up. And that's exactly what they did. They stepped it up defensively. They fought back. And they just completely denied the Bulls anything. It was just suffocating defense. The Bulls were making sloppy passes, turnovers. And that defense, I think, in the Summer League is something that I've noticed quite a bit. Jarrett Jack has done a really good job just lighting a fire under these guys and getting them to play that type of defense that a lot of us Pistons fans really respect, love, and admire. I really like the defense, but one of the guys I think in the fourth quarter that deserves a lot of love was Jace Johnson. He had 19 points off the bench tonight for the Detroit Pistons. Had to wear the goggles because he got poked in the eye from one of the Bulls players. But, once he put those goggles on, man, he was just a force down low in the post. When you're that big, when you're 7 foot, it's going to be pretty hard to deny you. And he just had such a good game. I do want to give him a shout out. It shouldn't go unnoticed. Having 19 points off the bench when you're not the starting center is big. And he made some really good key defensive plays down the stretch when the Bulls, got it to, I believe, a 6 or a 5 point game. He was making really good defensive plays, but had to give him a little shout out tonight and really liked what I saw. So our MVP of the night, I think, has to be Ron Holland. Ron Holland gets our MVP of the night. Ron Holland, I thought, had just a great game. If you don't look at the box score and you watch the game throughout the first all the way to the fourth quarter, Ron Holland impacted the game in so many different levels. He had some really nice passes tonight. He had some good defensive instances. He was making plays in transition. He was fighting for rebounds, defending his tail off, and really took the charge of getting them back into the game and obviously getting them the victory tonight against the Chicago Bulls. But he is my MVP. I think some positives we can get into before we do wrap up this podcast is the defense looks good. Want to see it for a full 40 minutes against the Knicks on Friday. That's who the Pistons play next in the Summer League. Be really interesting to see if they can bring it for a full 40 minutes. So far, it's been in spurts. It's been like tonight was like a good 30 or so minutes. I want to see if they can have a consistent 40 minutes of just solid, hard-nosed defense in this Summer League. I think another positive we do have to talk about is Bobby Klitman again. Bobby Klitman has been probably one of the most consistent players in the Summer League so far. Now, he didn't do it with the scoring tonight so much. It was more of his passing. He had a lot of nice passes tonight to his teammates. He had a no look pass tonight that was like really, really nice. I did clip the highlight if you guys do want to go check that out on Twitter. But Bobby Klitman, I thought, was another positive tonight. I think some negatives, though, we do have to get into. You got to start to limiting these turnovers. You can't turn the ball over that much and expect to win because you're really going to have to play like flawless, good defensive basketball. Limit the turnovers. And I think that's really, really like my only negative. Just limit the turnovers and just play a full 40 minutes of basketball. But don't want to keep this podcast too long for you guys. Just, 14 minutes, 15 minutes or so. But really liked what I saw out of the Pistons tonight, getting another victory against the Chicago Bulls. They do play the New York Knicks this Friday in the Summer League. Let me check actually what time that is. I don't have the exact time pull up in front of me. Hold on real quick. So they play the Knicks Friday at 7 p.m. on ESPN. So we're getting an ESPN game. We had an ESPN too, but we're actually getting an ESPN game, Pistons next. So that should be a good one. But we will talk to you guys in our post-game reaction on Friday when the Pistons do play the Knicks. Again, hope you guys are having a great night, and we will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.